Welcome to this video learning guide for the Dessert Dash TikTok Effect House template. I'm just going to go through the template and walk you through all of the different things that you need to know to make an effect with this template and some of the interesting parts that might increase, make your effect much better. Let's start with the hierarchy. In the hierarchy over here, we have some tips. Usually we'll put these tips to give you the basic direction that you'll take with each template. And then we have the general node, which does all of our 3D camera processing. And this is where we put all of the 3D parts of the level. We've provided a basic level, which is kind of a simple, straightforward set of platforms that you can travel across to get to the end of this level. So this template is essentially a level builder for a platformer game where you drive a ball from the beginning to the end. There are also a few stars to pick up. There are 3 stars in the game that you can place wherever you want. And as you roll through them, you'll pick them up. And the little yellow star at the left side here will illuminate. Let's pick one up and see how it looks. So right off the bat, you can tell that I'm driving this ball by clicking on the screen or touching the screen and moving your touch input from the bottom to the top controls how much you'll accelerate. So if I put it very low down, it will stop the ball and sometimes even roll backward if it has a little bit of momentum. And then moving up will cause the ball to roll faster and faster forward. And so these are the basic controls of how this game works. If you look at the visual scripting, you'll see some different settings that you can change to change how that rolling works, how some of the interactions work, like the turning speed will kind of control how fast it will turn left or right when you're moving your finger to the left and right side of the screen. And the ball will always roll in the direction that the camera is facing. So in this basic level, you can see that there's the player spawn object. This is just an empty object to show where the player will appear when the game starts and when it falls off the side. There's also these things like cake platform long, which if you open it up, it's just a bunch of cake platform smalls. So as I click through these, you can see that it's just a set of 4 cakes in a row. And this is kind of baked into this single object that you can move around much easier than 4 separate platforms. If you want to build your own level, we have this section down here where you will find all of the different pieces that you would need. So for a lot of these, where they say duplicate, the way that you would build the level with this is that you would duplicate it and then you would drag it into your project. And once you drag it in, you can see it appear because it's visible again. And here we would probably just maybe move this small candy cane into the beginning of the level to make it look a little cuter. And it also will have a box collider attached to it. So some of the benefits, like using cake platform long instead of using 4 separate cakes, is that it has one box collider that overlaps with all 4 cakes. So this is much more optimized to use a bunch of cake platform long objects than just try to make your own level with a bunch of small pieces. Because this is a full game, you do have to think about optimizations like that a little bit so that it runs on as many devices as possible. So the things that you should focus on are probably create enough platforms that the ball can roll around to different areas, and then you can use these candy canes as something that blocks off the side of the platform so players can't fall off. Or you can do what I did here and make a little rail to ride down to give them a little bit of a challenge. And it feels kind of cool to be locked into that rail. And then come up with your own ideas. As a bigger example, we also included this advanced level that perfectly aligns with the basic level so that the stars are all in the same place and you can use either level. So this one has a lot more things going on, a lot more ramps, more candy canes. We've even got some moving platforms down here. Remember, the scene view does not show the animations and things. It'll show the static version of the level. But these platforms, when you're when you're actually playing through this section, will be moving around. And then we also have what I call the Fandy cane, which is a rotating set of candy canes that act as a fan that you have to jump through. And notice the stars in this version are a lot harder to collect because this is an advanced level. At the end of the game, every level will have this target that when you hit, you win the game. Notice the time at the top of this project. That is largely what we've intended to be the kind of reason that people would play this more than one time. Trying to get the highest score, trying to get all 3 stars as fast as possible will be the ideal challenge for this. If you don't want to use the stars, you could always turn these stars off in the 2D camera and just turn them off and they will never appear. I personally think the stars are the most fun part, trying to collect each one. So I definitely will leave them on for all of my projects. And yeah, so the only important thing to really realize also with these building blocks, the level building parts section, is that all of the other decorations I've shown you, where you duplicate and then move it into your level, the collectibles like the stars and the end goal, both of these things you don't want to duplicate. So definitely if you duplicate them, they will appear in the level, but they won't be attached to the visual scripting. So it won't be able to do the animations and the interactions when you run into a different random duplicated star. So that's why we say just place this in the scene directly. If you look at this one, this star is not just a turned off building block. This is actually the star that you will collect for that first star slot. So yeah, that's good to note. A couple other things to note are make sure that the collider on the star is not touching anything else, because that could cause the star to think that it was collected by a different object. So just make sure that they're not touching anything, or you might encounter that. The last area is a half pipe. I just wanted to say that because I thought that was really funny and cool. And it was really fun to design this level. So I hope that anybody who uses this template has as much fun designing their own level as I had fun making this template. Some of the other options I'll highlight in here just because it might be good to know these things. The respawn height threshold, this -105, that means that when the ball Y value is -105 and it's fallen 100 units down, that's when it will respawn again, back at that respawn point. If you really want to get fancy, you can add some invisible box colliders that are marked as intangible and add some visual scripting to change this player spawn location when you reach a new place, basically creating a checkpoint. I could see that happening in a really long level where you don't want to go all the way back to the beginning when you fall off. Another common thing that I've seen in some games is the always accelerate. Some games don't allow you to control your speed. You're just always accelerating. So that's why we added this option. So you're literally just turning and he's always going full speed, this crazy ball. So this could be fun. This is how some of the top effects in this kind of genre operate. So I could see this being a very common option as well. The 2D section that I briefly showed before also controls our win and go animations and the time, which is a 2D text. So we're just programming the time into that every frame. And then the instructions. So the instructions are just telling people to swipe up if they want to move the ball forward and side to side to move the camera. I hope that this was informative, and I hope that you make levels. If you really want to get crazy, you can replace the 3D models and the materials and textures to make a very custom looking game. But for the most part, I think it's fun to just use the assets that we've provided to make your own Desert Dash level.